Whatever you say.
That's salmon.
Well,
That's what goes on bagels.
just so you know.
Other stuff is just pink.
I think you said that because you're kind of fishy. Or maybe you're from Miami.
It
You know. So, yeah. Before you said it was sherbet.
is sherbet, but it's also a salmon looking color. It's okay to wear pink, but call it pink.
First of all, I don't know who you're talking about because I wear pink because
No, you used to call it salmon.
it was.
It was pink.
The color can't change. That's what it
No,
was.
no, but what you call it changed because your perception, because you just didn't want to call it pink. It
I don't.
it
I really have no idea what you're talking. Like the shirt was probably.
it was pink.
Listen, I had just learned the word, so what's wrong with using it?
You used to call it salmon.
Now you're making
Salmon.
fun of my speech.
Sal
That's.
salmon.
I don't think
What is
that's
it? Salmon.
productive to a
Salmon.
marriage,
Salmon.
if you say so. All right, so we don't have a mass following, so we can go ahead and start talking, and then they can always run it back.
Is this on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on my humble dad channel. But
The government knows my face.
yes,
I
that is true.
usually I usually comment on people's pages under a pseudonym.
But then that means they're not gonna know who you are.
Absolutely. I don't want people knowing my government name.
Oh, okay, cool. I mean, there are people that know your government name. All right, so you gonna be doing all this laughing and moving the camera. All right. So the reason why we're
I'm serious.
having this discussion is because, as you've seen that I put in the description, is that we have really good conversations. Um, in my estimation, they're very thought provoking. This lady keeps me on my toes when it comes to whether it's my theology, whether it's my just worldview on things. And when we have these dialogues, I find myself um, having to think about who I am and what I'm doing to become better. And so she doesn't like the camera,
Nope.
okay? And so I just had to be a man and take lead. Oop, I'm sorry, I said the word lead. A man is taking lead. Okay, I hope I don't get canceled.
You're shaking the camera with your hand movements.
That's what leaders do.
But then I should follow.
And so that's exactly why you should not do that, because I was showing you by example what it does to it. That really didn't make sense. All right, so but anyways, back to the lecture at hand. I was um I was like, we should record more of these because I think our perspective is uh is needed. Us being, in the game as far as marriage, 14 years deep, knowing each other, almost 20. We've grown together. We have 4 kids together. I'm dark skinned, she light skinned. So, you know what I'm saying? It's a combination of worlds. I'm a man, she's a woman, you know. So we have different perspectives on things that are, um, I think, also conducive to what is needed to be said. So, without further, well, I don't want to take nobody's stuff, right?
Yeah, that I think he
I
might
just,
have he
I
might
just, he
have
may
that
have that
copyrighted.
signature. Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Mediocre Tutorial Review. Shout out to Kwame Brown. Shout out to Kevin Samuels. All the single people out there, the marriages, the Christians, the thugs, you know, but no bones. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the things that have been in conversation between her and I. Okay. Hopefully, she'll do more talking than me because her insight is really good. And so, we're going to first talk about what the latest trend is. Is, the new Jordans that are. I'm just kidding. So, we're going to talk about Kwame Brown.
There's new Jordans.
Yeah, I think Kwame is wearing them in his video.
He certainly has the spirit of
I,
Jordan.
I, I think that he should wear them. That's that would be a
That would
dope.
be ironic, I think.
That's why that would be dope. Like he should just do an entire live just wearing Jordans,
And just
like
wearing
taking them
Jordan.
off. Yeah, just I mean, just have them in the background, and then he just tries them on.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, first of all, start off with the shoes that Jordan was wearing when he
He was
drafted.
drafted. Oh
Absolutely,
man.
yeah, yeah. I think that
That's
would be a
trolling.
phenomenal.
I
Listen, he's been doing
need
it.
to stop laughing.
He's been trolling. All right. So I wanted to talk about the rights and the wrongs of Kwame Brown.
The
Right.
rights and the wrongs.
Yeah. First of all, do you feel like he was right in how he responded, or do you feel like he was uh, what did I say? Was he right or wrong in how he responded? What's your thoughts?
Um, I think you can't. I think you can't. Once you antagonize someone enough,
Hmm.
I don't think there's a wrong. There's a maybe a better way to approach something, but whether or not something's wrong or right, I don't think it's wrong to respond once you've been antagonized, no matter how you respond. So, like if you responded even keeled, which I think he did, um, it's fine.
You think he was even killed?
Listen, he didn't yell at nobody.
What? What would you call it?
I call it a dressing down. So that's what you call a
He
dressing
used
down.
all type of
He
vulgarities.
may have been vulgar, and he was vulgar actually.
You said maybe. Like what words did he leave out? Like he didn't leave out any words that none of the words he used would you be like, listen, that one was okay. Like he
Move this thing.
well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You just got to deal with it. All
Okay.
right. This the first of many
Okay.
maybe.
All right.
And we'll deal with it.
So I do think he was. I think it was. I mean, he was angry, and
Okay.
the language that he used
Was anger.
was from a place of anger.
Okay.
Um, I think it was. I think it was appropriate.
Okay. You feel like it was appropriate. Would you have responded like that?
I would not have.
Because you've had disagreements with people and
I
people have called you names. Even
okay.
have they not?
Not to my
Even
face.
even if they called you brainwashed, if they called
Oh yeah,
you
yeah. Sure.
uh arrogant, whatever the case may
Someone call
be,
me Eric.
maybe that's me. But if but with them saying that, would you have responded the same way?
No,
So you're
probably
saying
not.
that it's okay to for him to respond that way
See, the thing
because that
is
was
that
his that's
what I learned from you
okay,
is that men were getting at him.
yes.
He returned the same masculine energy to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was aggressive
Was.
in a way that needed to be had. Like if you keep poking someone
Yeah,
for 20 years,
yeah.
we often, there's some volcanoes we've been watching that have been
Mm,
lying dormant for quite some time.
right, right.
And we know when they go blow up, it'll be cataclysmic. And I think what just happened was a cataclysmic explosion of I'm just through with being made, being talked down to.
And he was already on social media, but just not. He
No,
had been on it for a year.
right? He wasn't.
So because when he
I think
responded,
someone said that he was also on Facebook, maybe
okay.
on
So
Facebook.
he was responding, and it just so happened somebody caught wind of it, and then it got connected to the right person that ended up introducing it. Then it became viral, right? And so I would say that he was right in the way that he responded, although I wouldn't have used the words that he used because he came from a position of I'm done, I'm tired of this, and you're not going to keep painting this narrative about me, right? So I had posted this in my humble dad group, on Facebook. That's a name drop right there. And
Shout out to all the humble
all
dads.
the humble dads. And and I asked the question, why would you have responded like Kwame did? And often most of them said no, but in my heyday, I would have responded that way. Some people said that some men, which is all men, and then they said, I understand why he responded that way, right? And then to move forward, I like the way that he transitioned the beef. Like he transitioned the beef. People responded to him.
He didn't transition the beef.
He did. He did. He transitioned because the initial beef is that he's bothered by Stephen A. He's bothered by Charlemagne the guy. He's got Beck. He called it Becky with
So
the
what do
good
you mean by
hair.
transition the beef then?
He made it about because his platform went from 4,000 to 300,000. Now he's transitioning
I
to
see what you
bringing
mean by that.
people
Okay.
on. So it blew up on a negative tip, right? Out of beefing, it blew up. But he's going to is what he says he's going to do. Okay, and only time will tell. But sorry, I didn't mean. I saw your hand out of nowhere. I didn't know that's what you were doing. Oh, okay, go ahead.
You thought I was gonna hit you?
I didn't know what you was
I
doing.
know
I
you
just saw
have
that
post
come.
traumatic stress disorder, but I mean,
No, you've
I
never hit
promise to
me.
never do it again,
You've never hit me. I don't even know why you didn't put that in the atmosphere. Okay, because that, yeah. And so, um, so that's why I'm saying that I think that he was right. How he responded, I wouldn't have responded like that. But I think because, not even I think, but based on what I see, his reaction was necessary because oftentimes what the media will do is try to uh, characterize you and to make other people devalue your opinion, right?
It's
And
not just the media who does that.
but that's where it's learned.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it's learned. So that's why I'm saying and I'm talking about the talking heads on these platforms. Okay, so I think he was right. I
I
think he
think
was right.
I beg to differ.
You think
I
he was
think you
wrong?
have responded like that before. You may not have.
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Yes, I did.
I think you not used profanity, but that's the only thing you didn't use.
But I didn't
You
have.
used
But my platform didn't. I didn't have a
no, you
platform to
didn't have a
grow.
platform. What I mean is,
Hmm.
you responded to a situation that you felt was building for quite some
Hmm.
time,
Yeah.
and things were left unsaid in your mind. This has happened more than once to you, and you let it loose. And I think everyone has. This is why I think everyone
It's understandable.
has empathized with him
Okay.
because you let things go for so long, and then it takes just one more time, and then you realize, like, listen, I don't have to take this from you, and I'm not
Hmm.
going to any longer, and let's talk about it.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Oh yeah,
Every
that's
one of us,
growth. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and so that I think that contributes to everybody who is subscribing or listening uh to Mr. Brown now, Kwame Brown, because everybody's like, yeah, I've had that situation where I I bit my tongue so I can, get, to get past it, so I can reach a goal, so I can not, just so I can keep everything cool or professional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody
Oh
knows that
man.
at work, like,
Oh
you've
yeah.
been
Yeah.
dealing with
Yeah.
some at work, and this person just keep at it, and you just bite your tongue just to get along and try to do the best you can to make it happen, and the person undermines you. Everybody has had that experience, and
Yeah.
so I think that's what is resonating right now.
Possibly. Uh huh. Possibly.
And that's for, at least for the initial, for the
Hmm.
thing that happened with all the smoke,
Hmm.
and then the piling on,
All I
everybody,
had. Yeah.
the piling on from Charlemagne and then from Stephen A. People were
Boyce
already
Watkins.
watching in real time,
Hmm.
Boyce Watkins, in real time watching. They understood the blow up, and so they're already watching the blow up, agreeing with the blow up, and they're watching in real time bullying.
Okay.
and recognizing for they're looking back, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
And me and you did laugh at Stephen A's jokes
Yes.
about Kwame.
Yes.
But honestly, we didn't understand what was going on, and we believed the narrative at the time.
No, I thought he did. I thought he wasn't good.
And you still don't. You still think
Yeah, I don't
he's
think
not
that.
good, but at the same time,
I'm saying for the
to
position of where he was drafted.
yes.
Okay. I would say that he did not.
But what the media narrative did well is not have us even consider that, he didn't choose his draft position. And to be mad at him for
Mm,
getting for the contract that they
mm,
gave him,
okay, I see.
at
We
this
should.
point in our lives, we're like, get it if you can get it, right?
Yeah,
Every time
I
somebody be like,
got you.
man, they paid you for that.
Mm,
Most people would be, back then we were kind of like, kind of jealous or
I see.
envious or whatever.
Yeah,
You're getting something that we feel like you deserve. But now where we are, aged, as so
that's a
we
good
we're
point.
like, hey man, if you can get it for not, for not as much talent,
If you
why
can get
not?
something for cheap,
Right,
why am I bothered that you got it for cheap? Or why am I bothered that you came up with a lick?
right.
Yeah, that's a
And
very good
I
point.
want to point out this is that as much as we're saying that Stephen A. Stiff,
Whoa,
Freudian slip.
whoa,
Stephen A. Smith.
wow,
Golly.
wow.
Oh, okay. As much as we were well, people are saying that he's getting what he deserves as far
Mm,
as the public lashing he's getting.
mhm.
We were all laughing with him. We were all
Man, I can't say all, but a lot of
a
people for
lot of
sure.
people, a lot of these same people that are probably on, Kwame's, team right now. It's just indicative of how we did not ask enough questions. Like,
For sure.
why is it that he's in the position that he's in? Why is it you're on a team with Michael Jordan of all people
Michael Jordan drafted you.
and you're not getting better? What is going on here? Us as parents, I think we weren't even parents for very long. Us as parents know then that the burden is actually on the mentors for not teaching
The
the
development
youngers,
program.
right? But we didn't even question it,
That's a good
and the
point.
media allowed us not to question it, and was like, most people
Not
are.
until now, not until this data age, right? That has just come up where you have an opportunity to speak up for yourself,
Mhm.
as well as you have an opportunity to go get more informed. You can't say that there's no way for me to find out.
That's true.
Like I could have
The
easily,
internet did exist at this time,
yeah, but
so
not as much information, right?
right.
So to kind of cap it all off, to say that I would say that Kwame Brown was it was understandable in how he responded, right? Uh, but I wanted to kind of give a biblical perspective
Mm-hmm.
on his response, right? So what the reason why he did it in public is because they did it in public,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh, but now is an opportunity for him to, um, from a biblical perspective. I'm not saying that he's a Christian or anything like that, but he should go make amends, right? If he and do his best to reconcile, because as we know, black people going against black people is a great opportunity for us not to move forward. Okay. And in order for any people group to move forward, we have to put aside our differences to work on our similarities and what it is that the goal is. And so that is what we're called to do as believers for sure. And that concept would still apply to Kwame and the people with all the smoke and Stephen A. Smith and say, you know what, dude, Stephen A. needs to apologize. Charlemagne the God already apologized. Boyce Watkins needs to apologize. And I need to apologize for just laughing at the jokes, um, because I wasn't even thinking about it from the perspective that Kwame was coming from is that listen, you're talking about me uh for a reason, and nobody is saying why that reason is, because it's very interesting to say that you all have made him a punchline this long. So that's what I wanted to say. So we're gonna move on to, unless you had something you wanted to follow up there.
I think we can transition. What was the next thing we were talking
Was
about?
Kevin Samuel.
And he did mention Kevin Samuels, and I think we can still tarry with the Kwame subject just a little
Okay.
bit,
All right.
because the other thing that he is transitioning to is the overall. We talked about the masculine energy that he was giving. Um, it is not popular to be. We call it
Okay.
toxic masculinity.
Okay.
Now, just regular masculinity is called toxic
Yeah,
masculinity.
that's crazy. Even
Um,
though there are some people that think differently.
and the situation of Jamel Hill jumping out the window and inserting herself in the situation.
Just for clout chasing. I mean, listen,
I'm
we
not
clout
quite
chasing
sure.
a little bit right now, but this is the relevant topic.
I'm not quite sure what she was doing. I think
You
she
know what she
was.
was doing.
I I think she
She
was
had no
told
business in it.
she didn't. And so when he
So
told
therefore, that's
her
what was
to
going
stay
on.
out of men folks' business, um, some women were very
Bothered
they were very bothered.
in
Probably
their feelings.
said that he was chauvinistic. And Kwame had a good point. You know, if it's talking about any subject concerning women, motherhood, wife, girlfriend, reproductive issues, men do not only do not get to have a voice, they should not have a voice and to sit down. But if there is something between men, if there's a discussion happening between men, women feel like they can talk about it all day and can't be told to shut up.
Mm.
And that's not okay. That's a double standard. Either we're going to be equal, which is what we fought for, or women who were once feminists, the true feminism. Um, either we fought for equality and everybody can speak on every subject equally because we all have a right to our own
Okay, I
opinion,
see.
or women can only speak to women issues and men can only speak to men issues. Then we're back to a situation that us women, we won't like that very, very much very soon, because then we won't be able to speak on a great many topics because, what, like the feminists like to point out, there's some male dominated spaces that women won't be able to speak about, period. And the big part of it is going to be sports, right?
Yes.
And so, um, the energy the back he got a small bit of backlash from the female space.
It seemed to be gone quick.
It's not gone, it was shushed by the masculines.
I think that's pretty fast.
It was pretty fast. And it goes into, we can bring that into the Kevin Samuels conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've been talking about, what does it mean? Like, again, Kevin Samuels is not the first person to be saying this. People have been saying this for decades. Shahrazad Ali,
Okay.
a woman, has been talking about this for at least
Since the
a
70s.
few. No, she's, I think, late 80s.
Okay, 80s. All right.
A few decades. Kwame just went on there with Judge Joe Brown promoting masculinity and protecting, femininity.
Protecting femininity.
I think he said,
okay.
I think he said promoting. I don't remember
Okay, I got
the
you.
thing.
Okay.
And then there's a lot of people just on YouTube, smaller channels, or maybe not very popular channels, maybe not small, but not in the mainstream, talking about situations of what's happening with Black women in the community. So when Kevin Samuels comes on the scene, somebody said that really well. I forget who said it. I think it was PMP, Poor Man's Podcast.
Okay,
shout out to Poor Man's Podcast. He said he was McDonald's. And I was like, what does he mean by that? And what he meant by that is this: McDonald's did not invent the hamburger.
No, they did not.
McDonald's invented a way to package, market, stamp, and deliver consistency.
Yeah.
That to wherever McDonald's you go to, you know that Big Mac is gonna have two wild beef patty,
Yeah.
special sauce,
Lettuce,
lettuce,
cheese.
cheese,
Yeah.
and pickles, onions on a
Hmm.
sesame seed
They
bun.
created the
And
system.
you know what you're getting, and it's palatable, it's safe, and I can serve that to you. And that's what Kevin Samuels is doing. He is explaining a situation that we've been having for a long time, the over feminization of our men.
Jordan Peterson was doing it before
Sure
that.
enough, but Jordan Peterson was talking to both men and women. He was talking to human beings, and he was just talking about, on its face, what it is. He's talking about stats.
Yeah.
Kevin Samuels is applying those stats to a particular community and a particular problem. Now, my only gripe with Kevin Samuels is that we need a little bit more solutions. And I'm not saying that he doesn't
That's a
have
big
any.
deal.
I'm not saying he doesn't have any, but I would like to hear about, maybe I have my own ideas about what solutions that we can
Yeah,
apply.
you should be able to talk
But
about that. Before you get
yeah,
into that though, let me give you my premise.
all right.
Okay, so is Kevin Samuels right or wrong? And in my estimation, of listening to several of his videos to see if any of those things I can apply to myself, I would say there's a combination of the two. Like the things that I've taken away from him is appearance. You know, making sure that when I leave the house and I go in certain places, to make sure that I dress a certain way because the world that we live in is not catered towards a black man. Okay, uh, and that's just part of the game, if you will. Okay, another situation that I would say was for him, that I learned, I guess, or apply from what he said is, you know, mm, I mean, I know that I'm the leader of the house,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, uh, there's a certain, I don't know what the word is, but there's a certain way to walk in your, leadership skills, to speak your mind is one way, but also I also learned how he asked questions to identify what the problem is for that particular person. So those are some of the skills that I've learned from him. The thing that I disagree with Kevin Samuels is, that there is no he hasn't given a specific solution that I'm aware of, similar to what you were saying. Also about the question, what was the question? The statement that he made was Kevin Samuels made was that a man is it's hard for a man to be with one woman. Like I think he said this, but maybe I've got to be corrected. A man can't be with one woman, okay, even though he needs to have some type of self control, right? So within the marriage, because he's big on saying that they should be married, man and woman should be married, uh, that the woman needs to be fit, but then it seems to be okay that the man has other women. Am I wrong in saying that?
Uh, I don't know if he says that at the same time,
Okay.
and I don't think he necessarily thinks that. I think he thinks it is expected for a man to have more than one woman, and he speaks to the reality
Okay.
of things.
Maybe I
I
missed
don't
that.
know if
Okay.
he's promoting,
Okay.
um, you know, men being womanizers. I don't think that's what or even polygamy or anything like
I would
that.
definitely like to talk to him about that, to see or hear him talk about it. As far as if he's saying that, because the question that I would ask is, or to not ask,
because
but go ahead.
because he's not. The thing is that he doesn't. When you listen to when he speaks to the men, he keeps the same. If not, again with this mat, when you get what I notice when men talk to men, they speak very much more harsh
We do.
and matter of fact, and so he actually keeps the same standard with men, if not more so. He expects a
Yeah,
lot of men.
yeah, I think he's. That's not what I'm referring to. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying that based on his expectation of how he speaks to men, you wouldn't say that he is promoting that a man cheat.
No, I
Okay,
think he's just saying that out here you have a Bill Gates, or you have a Bill Gates, and you have what's the other dude's name? Jeff Bezos, and you have our three billionaires:
because his
Bill
statement
Gates,
was
Jeff Bezos, and the guy who owned Tesla. Who knows his name? I forget. And I talk about this guy all the time, and it just escapes it. But these men, but the two men, the first two men, Bill and Jeff, are have stepped out on their wives. Have stepped out. Well, at least Bill Gates, we know he stepped out on wife number one and wife number two. And but the thing is that and he's saying that, hey, these guys
Elon
are
Musk.
Elon Musk. Thank you, babe. He's saying that it's to be expected. Not only are they high value, they're stratospheric value men, it's expected. And so he's talking about the reality of the situation.
Right. So he's saying, okay, got it. So he's talking about the reality of that these high value men are expected to. It's not cheating because they would typically have an arrangement.
Well, well,
Okay,
Bill Gates
that's what
certainly
he's
did.
saying.
Hmm.
Okay, and that's one person that he's using that
And
as.
historically, that used to be the way with aristocratic
Okay,
or nobility.
okay, and so then the expectation of that woman, if you want to stay, is that she has to stay fit.
Right.
But the guy is saying that, listen, you got to stay fit, but I can have as many
But
women
the
as I
thing
want.
is that the man, what he's saying is that that's not a even exchange. What Kevin
Okay, I'm
Samuels is
asking.
saying, what you're bringing to the what I'm just telling you, I'm not agreeing. I'm not agreeing. For those who watch later, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. But this is what he's saying. He's saying here's an even exchange. What you bring to the table, woman, is reproductive. um, you're able to bear heirs. Okay, you're able to bear children, raise children, be a credit to me. So you're bringing your beauty, you're bringing companionship, you are not, maybe not my co-head, but you are my partner in life. And so if your beauty, which is one of the criteria that I got you on, starts to fit, and on conversely, what I'm bringing to you is I'm supporting you, I'm giving you what you need. I provide security and protection,
How
and
are
you
those
don't.
different? Security and protection.
You're right. Sorry, babe. Security. I provide protection, and I provide food and shelter and luxury and leisure.
Mm,
So if I'm giving you all that, and you're giving me your
okay.
beauty, if your
Okay.
beauty starts to fade,
I
or I
see.
mean more than just time, right? Then he's saying that's for a high value guy. That's not. We just made an exchange, and you fell off on your part.
Okay. So let's okay, let me okay.
That's what
So
he's saying.
okay, got it. So do you think that that is so would you agree or disagree with that for a healthy marriage?
Yes.
Okay, explain.
I think we I think the exchange is no matter what socioeconomic status you're on, is still the same exchange.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, you exchange security for I'm gonna keep saying security
So
and
then
protection.
so
You
then what is it? Okay, so it sounds like you're trying to think about what you wanted to say.
No, I'm just saying that you exchange the same things.
Yes, you
Whether or
do.
not you're a high value guy or
Agreed.
or
Agreed. That's why I don't understand why is it that the high value guy is seen
well, they want the because
more than
well
the
in
guy that makes 70, $80,000 a year.
the middle class guy doesn't provide as much luxury and leisure as the high value guy. And so and which is why it's a little bit less under listen, it's a lot less understanding to me for the person who would clutch their pearls at a millionaire or billionaire or even a six-figure guy wanting to have an agreement with his wife to step out on her. You are living in luxury and leisure with the I understand. Hey, if you want a high value guy, again, like he says, you can have it. But here's the reality. He has options. And he has
Right.
options even after he wifed you.
Right. But he
So
also speaks to, sorry, go ahead and finish that statement because I wanted to speak to that.
go ahead, speak to it.
Like he also says that this is why it is very confusing to me in certain parts of this conversation. Because he's talking to the woman that wants a high value guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then he breaks down why she doesn't qualify, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other end, he says that there should be a like to build wealth and to build stability for kids, then there needs to be a marriage between the man and the woman,
Yeah.
right? So, and then he says, in other places that he's brought people together. I think he had this
Okay.
conversation with Aubrey and Preach, right? So it,
Shout out to Abba and
oh
Preach.
man, absolutely. So I want the best for our people, period. Okay, but I'm solution oriented and not problem oriented. And so I'm wanting to know, sorry, I'm wanting to know from Kevin Samuels, like, are you do you have a game plan, right, to bring more unity uh between men and women? Okay. I'm just that's this question.
I don't.
Because the rule book, I know that you're not doing this, but the rule book is the Bible. Like everybody else is
I don't
trying
know. He's
to.
not doing that.
What I'm
Apparently.
saying, what I'm saying, you can disagree, and that's fine.
Mm,
What everybody's trying to create their own status,
I don't think.
not own standard of how to have a healthy relationship when the Bible is a very good one.
Yes, it is. Not a very
Even if
good one. It is the one.
it is the one, but I'm saying to the person that doesn't believe in it is that if you were to follow how it is, yes, you're going against your your natural instinct. However, in the relationship, you're asking somebody to do that anyway.
Yeah.
you're asking a person to you're asking someone to uh either change how you are for me, or you're saying this is what I bring to the table, what do you bring to the table, how can we coexist? And coexist means that there is going to be sacrifice on
Mm-hmm.
both sides, right? So uh, so if you were to tell a woman that, listen, a marriage is about sacrifice for the other person. It is about teamwork. Okay. If you were to tell the man, listen, homie, okay, you're a high value guy. Okay. If that's where you are, you're a high value guy. Why would you want to maintain more than one woman? Like, that's so much work. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want to also go and have sex with another woman, potentially impregnate her? Okay. Now you have a kid that is not a part of the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And now you create, and so now what is this kid? How is this kid going to be raised now?
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a conversation that needs to be had of why it is a negative in how you're it's a negative to have that. You know what I'm saying? Even
I think we
from
can't even have that conversation right now.
okay, we can't have a conversation, but I'm
No.
just saying a solution is
We
to
can't have
show how
that
to be
part of
married.
this. Like we can't have that. We can't.
You need to be focusing on how can you be married if you want to be married.
I I think he does do that, and here's how.
Okay.
Okay, and I don't think a lot of Black women would agree with me. The thing is what I do. I'm going to say this until women have standards. Women are told that our standards are just fine, whatever they are, and not to settle.
Yeah.
And that is a such bad idea. Shout out to Susan Venkner. She has a great YouTube channel. It's for women, speaking to women. And if you want to get married, how to be a wife, how it's not necessarily how to. She is all about learning how to be cooperative. Is the nice word for submissive.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
but the what the problem is that he Kevin Samuel says this all the time. Women hold the key to reproducing and sex, and men hold the key to marriage.
Yeah.
And until men start holding themselves to a higher standard, and this is what I mean by this. If you do not want a certain type of woman as your wife, men need to start making that known, regardless of the backlash that you get
Up front.
up front. I don't want my woman to be X, Y, and Z and be totally unapologetic. I
Do you
wish
think that was helpful
somebody,
to you?
what?
Because you said I did something like that to you.
You did. That is how I even started looking at Christianity. I want, even if you weren't living it, I
Because I
could
wasn't.
not marry or even consider a relationship with somebody who's not a Christian. That statement was life defining for me. And I'm not, it wasn't even about my
And we were
character.
just friends.
We were just friends. It was about what you expected as a husband. You couldn't even, you were already talking about not being unequally yoked from jump.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That was just one thing. How many, and men don't have a lot of things. Have the things, men,
What did I say?
and hold the line.
Christian can cook.
Okay. Have the things, have your
And then some
standard,
of that other stuff.
have the things, hold your line, and hold your standards.
Yes.
Don't be cowed by people who would, yeah, you don't have a right, you're not a good guy. If you have you're going to be stuck.
And stop having sex with these women.
And stop having sex with these women.
Because now they feel like you're contradicting,
okay.
Or they feel like they're changing you.
Here's the, yeah.
Like if you say, this is the type of woman that I want, and then you have sex with her, okay, now she is going to think that now she is connected to you, right? And now she's going to feel like this is another way to get you. And then if you get her pregnant, now we have a whole different ball game. I know that it's hard. Okay. I know that I mean I'm a man. Like I understand that it's hard not to have sex. However, if you're saying that you want to be married, then you need to stop having sex with women until it's time for you to be married.
And
I mean,
not only women, listen, it's like you men don't, as far as high value, what is a high value woman? In the eyes of a man, it's a baddie. It's a bad chick who, she's got everything he wants physically, correct? And it's not until later maybe you start to think about what you want in a wife. That's what's promoted now. But we should start instilling this into our sons right now as they're young, what they can expect and be okay with what their values are, what they want,
yeah.
and stand firm in it. And again, back to the sex issue, women use sex as collateral, as not collateral, but as power. We don't I'm going to conclude myself. For a long time, I
You
didn't
mean
understand.
include? You mean include?
Include. I kind of had a hiccup there.
Okay.
I didn't understand for a long time exactly what men want, what I even brought to the table. I just knew what I wanted to be, and it, praise God, it kind of worked out. Some of it did, right? But um but I just knew that men wanted sex. If I give a guy sex, then maybe that's all he wants, and so I can keep him. And if you keep sleeping with these women, that's what they think. They think they can control you and get what they want as long as they give you the sex, and they don't think that you want more. And as long as you have sex with them, they're not gonna give you more. We don't know what men want in 2021. I go listen to interview after interview after call, and I had to ask myself, do I even know? Do Am I even raising my daughter to know and be what a man wants?
Mm.
Men know what we want as women, and they do. They go out, they work hard, they try to get their paper. That's what men know that we want. We want security, financial stability, number one.
Number one.
Number one, even over looks.
Even over
Looks may come in third. Looks came in
if
third for me.
If a dude got money, it don't matter how
It
he look to women.
overcome many a short man.
We already know. Okay. All right. We already know. Okay.
But what I'm saying is, men know what women want, but what do we know what men want?
Women think that men want a woman that's
Sex.
educated too. They think that's what's interesting. That they
I don't know that that's the truth anymore.
Okay, listen. Well, then why? Okay, then why go get educated? Okay,
because the
think
world
about
has
this.
told us
Wait.
that.
Okay, listen. If they don't think that a man is going to want that, then why go?
Because the world has told us that they need to fulfill themselves. They're not even trying to be anything that someone else wants. It's all about me. It's all about me. It's not.
Okay, but after they get after they get into listen, watch. Once they get into the marketplace, they think because they make $80,000, $100,000 that the man's supposed to do this, have the same
because
thing.
We've been told from.
So what I'm saying is they went to go get the degree.
You need to understand.
They got the money. Okay, because you can't get the money without having some type of business. Well, I won't say business savvy, but some type of movement up into a career. So like year 8, year 8. Okay, year 8, you're at, okay, we'll say $60,000 just for a number. Okay, that woman, I know you're saying that no, she's doing it for herself. Yes, she's doing it for herself, but she's thinking that this is going to make her more valuable.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you why.
That's what I'm saying to you.
Let me tell you why.
Go ahead.
Remember, we talked about I'm a 90s baby.
Yeah.
The majority of my adolescence happened in the 90s.
Yeah.
During the 90s, it's you gotta love yourself before anybody loves you.
I get it.
That is still driven into your mind right now. So if I love myself, I'm going to be independent and not want to depend on anybody. Number one, to want to depend on someone was sacrilegious. You're a weak person to want to link up and depend on someone.
Yeah.
But now us women are 35, 36, 37, 38, 40s. Now we're seeing the burden of having to carry the load, and now we want to depend. This is why we're looking for high value men. We want to depend on someone. We're now understanding,
but they already got, like, that woman already has money.
But they don't want to be the one carrying the financial burden. No, and
that's what I'm saying in the beginning. They're thinking, they're doing this. Why
we are naive. We are only doing what we
and
were
it's still
taught.
And it's current based on the conversations that we've seen. It's still where it is, like the 20-year-old, the 21-year-old, the 22.
Yes, because
like
it's
they
still
think
being
that
taught.
I'm going to get this bag, and then later I will get married.
That's what's still being taught.
Okay, now we're going to transition to, and we're talking about relationships. Okay, and so this conversation that MTR and another lady was having,
I didn't see it.
That's okay, but they was talking about how there's no real need for marriage other than religion. Okay. And so I wanted to get your take on it. I think you had said something. I can't remember.
Mm.
Why would somebody get married other than religious reasons? That's why I was asking you.
I
I
could
have
only
information,
I could
but what
only
was your
tell you
thought?
historically what it was.
Okay, go ahead.
And
I'm listening.
historically, even maybe even before the sexual revolution, before anything else happened, let's go pre 1960s all the way into the 1800s and 1700s. The reason why people got married, number one, is to legitimize their children. You could not have illegitimate children. One of the things that before DNA testing that we did not have is the only way for a man to know that his progeny were his is to be the first one to be the first one to his wife, meaning his wife was a virgin, and that his wife was faithful to him and all his progeny was his. So he needed to legitimacy, and as far as bloodlines are concerned, were a big deal. If you were going to pass on stuff to your children, you want them to at least be
Hmm.
yours. For a woman, historically, since we did not have rights for much of history as far as equality and earning is concerned, there was not a whole lot of pathways for security. Even the merchant women, even the middle class or lower class people wanted to be married for security.
Hmm.
It was dangerous in the
Okay,
world.
I see.
You wanted to have a man because you needed to be at home. The person who had the strong arm was your man.
Okay, so that's a reason for women. So what would be the reason? And so you
Again,
said it for the men to pass down the legacy. So that's without them trying to paint the narrative of, well, it's only for religious
and
reasons.
also, if you were a farmer, if you were kind you wanted someone to work with you so you can
Yeah,
grow your
right.
business,
This is
so
what
you
I'm
can
saying.
grow your whatever you're working in,
And
whatever.
it also builds wealth.
It also builds wealth
Okay, and so I
because the
had that
whole family works
yeah,
together.
because I had that conversation with I think it was on a thread that I was on.
Mhm.
But anyway, people like MTR, Auburn, I think it's Abba,
Abba.
Abba, okay, Kevin Samuels, Poor
And
Man's
preach. You
Podcast,
forgot Abba and
okay.
preach. You forget
Well,
preach.
Tyson, you're up too, listening to us, homie, and we probably talking about some of the stuff you need to be listening to anyway. Congratulations on. I don't know
Yeah,
if y'all
congrats.
y'all
Well,
got y'all tied the knot yet or whatever, but
yeah, probably need to go and listen
yeah, y'all probably need to listen to this
to
for sure.
it.
So why marriage matters is there's a study by uh, familyscholars.org. Well, what we're talking about, if you go back, we were talking about Kwame, we was talking about Kevin Samuels, and we're talking about marriage and relationships. And so the
Why marriage matters.
why marriage matters.
Why does a man need to be married in 2021?
Right, right, right. And so the question that it says, I just read some of these things. It doesn't matter if couples get and stay married. This is by family
Indeed it does.
scholars.org. Okay. Yes, Kevin does keep it real, but he doesn't give solutions just yet. All okay. So that's what we're talking about, and why it would be important for marriage to exist. One, of course, with family, you get to raise your kids in a predominantly healthy relationship, is what it says. Okay, this is for those that don't know. Read from this. Okay, and there's like 30 conclusions, right? And I think there was one on here that said, like number 4 says, cohabitation is not the functional equivalent of
It
marriage.
is not.
Okay. It also says marriage increases the likelihood that fathers and mothers have good relationships with their children. Could you imagine having like the man that doesn't is not has access to his kid regularly cannot develop a good relationship with their kid?
How many times have we seen it where one parent or another does not have a good relationship with their child because they're not in the home with them? They can have all the relationship they want, but the relationship is often strained, to say
Okay,
the least.
absolutely. So that's just one from the 8 on the family section. Uh, it says marriage has important biosocial consequences for adults and children. Another one in about economy, it says divorce and unmarried childbearing increase poverty for both children and mothers,
Mhm.
and cohabitation is less likely to alleviate poverty than is marriage. Okay. married couples seem to build more wealth on average than singles or cohabitating couples. And all of these individuals that have these live feeds or whatever are big on stats. Okay. And this is what that is. I think that's one of our kids' alarms. It says 13. Go ahead. It says married men earn more money than do single men with similar education and job histories. Uh, let's see. There you go on the back because I'm not gonna get all of them. But physical health and longevity. Uh, Parental marriage is associated with a sharply lower risk of infant mortality. Married people, especially married men, have longer life expectancies than do otherwise similar singles. Marriage seems to be associated with better health among minorities and the poor. Back before 1960s, Kevin Samuels talks about this all the time. That black people were 80% were married, 80%. The divorce rate was 20%. Okay, so now
it had went up in the 1960s. It was down during most of the Jim Crow era. It was probably in the teens during the Jim Crow era.
Jim Crow era.
Because it was an epidemic. Remember the guy who used to work for the government? I forget. He came out with a study in a paper, and he was castigated for saying, "Hey, the black community is in crisis. The divorce rate is at 25% or something like that." And
yeah, I was saying marriage rate was at 80.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And so then another one was children whose parents divorce have higher rates of psychological distress and mental illness. Married mothers have lower rates of depression than do single or cohabitating mothers. Crime and domestic violence. Boys raised in non intact families are more likely to engage in delinquent and criminal behavior. A child who is not living with his or her own two married parents is at a greater risk of child abuse.
Indeed.
Okay, so these are different studies. This is not a Christian study. Okay, from my understanding, I think I wanted to see if you can go ahead and say something. I'm trying to find it.
I'm gonna just go back to men. You just like Kevin Samuels says that men hold the key to marriage. You need to hold the line, hold your standards, and not have um your I guess your morals compromised, your standards compromised because you want to get after a chick. They think when Kevin Samuels talks to some of these ladies, often unfortunately they're single mothers, very rarely is the woman who has a child is going to find a father for her child. Now, we know someone who is very successful at this. And I would love to talk to her and ask her what she's doing different. I guarantee you she is doing something different.
Yeah.
She is probably a phenomenal wife, right?
Possibly.
She's probably she lets her husband be a father and allows him to discipline her children. Okay, there's a lot that she's probably able to do and that she's cooperating with that she probably doesn't even realize. But most women, we don't get that messaging. The messaging we get is you should have your standards high and keep them high. And if he doesn't want to do what you want him to do, well, move along because you'll find what's best for you. You'll find what's right for you. And
but you won't.
And
you literally have to move to do that. So even with that, if you're moving to go find a person, that means that you're willing to change.
Right.
So if you're willing to change locations, why aren't you willing to change yourself? Because it's easier to change yourself than it is locations.
I think I was coming.
Well, maybe I don't know.
I was trying to come to a solution.
Okay.
As with all things,
marriage is the key.
Marriage is the key. One of the reasons when we were
healthy marriage,
when we got married,
Let's talk about it.
Pastor gave us a book of, or I had a book of traditions because I wanted to know the key to the traditions for everything, right?
Hmm.
Why do we do this at a wedding? Why do we do that? I don't know your, what is there to change?
Oh, okay.
I don't,
It's
please read, I don't know what you mean by that. Um, One of the things um, that I found very interesting is why the man is first at the altar and why the man gives his vows first and what, because he is setting the tone that he is going to be the leader
don't
in
say
this.
leader because it says head of household.
uh,
Elijah said it. What is there to change?
Said what is there
What did I
to,
say? I said that there is something to change.
okay.
I'm saying that the woman wants to be married and the man wants to be married.
Ah,
There is a change that takes place. Like in marriage, you are making a sacrifice of yourself because there's no way that I can continue to remain the same individual as a single person that I'm going to be in the marriage.
hmm.
It just doesn't make sense
It's not, and it's not going to happen.
because we're a team. It's like think about it like this: the teams that play iso ball and basketball have a more difficult time playing basketball than the people that pass the ball and play as a team, right? And so Jen and I, we work together. We have not had this easy.
No.
It's getting better over the
That was
last
tough.
I think the last year and a
we,
half or
we went,
so.
we've been like, we did our little ways, but
Yeah, for sure. But the last, since COVID, I think we've done really good as the last year and a half is what I'm saying. And then as for sure the last 3 months as we've been listening to other people, me with my podcast, you would listen to different podcasts about there are some things about myself that I need to reserve and change, as well as you say, okay, I need to do some things differently so that I can do well at this team thing, right? And a part of that is us both coming together to realize that we have one goal, and that's to make sure that our kids do well,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And if we do well, then our kids will do well.
Right.
And so that is what is needed to be changed, Tyson, and those that are listening. The woman needs to see that she's going to have to do more changes than the guy because the guy is telling you, this is my standard. Okay. The guy is the job description, the guy is the job.
I don't think that that's what's going on now. I think
Okay.
that's part of the
Okay.
problem.
Cool. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Hmm.
The guy, the girl is saying, I think Kevin Samuel used this example. Here's the college you want to get into. Okay, there's a college that you want to get into. They give you the description of how to get into the college.
Indeed.
Okay, if you don't fit the description, you can't go to the college and say you need to change your rules. You can, but you're gonna get a lot of this. That's not gonna happen. So it makes more sense for a woman to know exactly what their criteria. No, the man needs to know his criteria. He needs to list it in some way, some form or fashion, and the woman needs to uh, identify with those descriptions when she sees them and say, "Well, no, that's not something I can do," right? Or she needs to adjust herself, which you cannot necessarily do for a college
What
application, but for a relationship, the woman's gonna have to do more
all
changing
this
than the guy.
is, I mean, you're
And we're gonna
saying,
wrap this up. Go ahead. You have the last word,
I
even
have a
though
lot of
I'm
words
okay,
though.
but I'm still the leader, even though you have the last
I
words.
have a lot of
Okay,
words. Can I have a lot of them?
it's your show.
Okay. All this is a problem. Every time we talk about this, I foresee more problems. And unless we are okay with reestablishing some of the things that we used to have, like I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, people talk about the good old days." It's not just the good old days. When you read the Bible in earnest and study, you realize that the Lord set things up in a particular order for a particular fashion. And society was set up in that particular fashion. Not everything was fair. Not everything was just. Not everything was equal. Okay. But in the pursuit of justice and in pursuit of equality, we've thrown the baby literally out with the bathwater.
Mm,
When birth control became a thing,
I see.
women were able to have sex with men free of consequences, thus giving men an opportunity not to have to lock it down to get their bag.
I see. I see.
Men don't want to have to lock down. If I can have sex with 600 or 700 women free of pregnancy,
Mm,
free of responsibility, free of having to marry the woman, why not? So we have a generation upon generation of men who don't need to take responsibility. And in at the same time, you have women who have responsibility. They've learned to that they can be independent. And so now we don't even know how to get back what we have. We're trying to grasp at stuff. I think that's what Kevin Sam is trying to do. We're trying to get back what we have, what we had, but we can't get back with that without the Bible. We can't get at with that without Christ. We can't get
the
morals.
Bible is it.
We can't get morals without the moral giver.
Right.
We cannot. And men, you have to take lead on this. You have to take lead on this. Not because you're just that smarter. That's not true.
Why'd you laugh at that? I mean, you choked up on it. Like you had a really good soliloquy, and then
I'm gonna get back on it.
Please do.
Not because you guys that much smarter, but because he is right. Kevin Samuel was right. You do have the key to marriage. So that means you're going to have to start rejecting some ladies in a real way. And I'm talking from the highest billionaire to the lowest street sweeper. Every man has to have a standard. If you cannot have X, Y, and Z in order, if you do not have your virtue intact, then we cannot have a conversation about marriage. If you stick with it, I think we'll start to see some real change. But right now, it's not looking good. And we can't even, and that's why it's hard to have morals without having the moral standard,
Which is the Bible.
which is the Bible. Men, you have to lead on this. And I know a lot of women be like, oh, she's talking about men, this, men, that. If we want a man to be the head, if we want our men to provide, if we want a man to get up and protect, if I hear a bump in the night, I'm going to have to let him lead. Now, that's this is not a struggle. This is not
you don't let a leader lead. The leader is the leader.
I'm going to have to be quiet. I'm going to have to tell myself to be quiet on certain things. I'm going to have to fall back. You know what? I give him my 2 cents, and if he doesn't agree, literally on his head be it.
That's it. Yeah. Because think about that.
And it's a tough road for Jenny.
This is what I was telling another guy. I said, listen, if I go with the decision, I think it was like Abraham. Like Abraham, the issue was with him when he did not do what God asked him to do. Right? Like he was the one that had the issue, right? Or the consequence, if you will. What was the consequence to the woman?
What are you talking about?
When he when his wife said, you know what, go ahead and have sex with that other person.
The consequence to her is that she got talked about in the village, or in the camp. They're like, she can't have kids. And she had to get her handmaid to have. That's what was going on there.
Okay.
That was her consequence, and that's why she got in her feelings and say, well, you need to kick her out.
Okay.
So that's what happened there.
Okay. But it ultimately was his seed that had so it was. All right. So when a man gets an advice from a woman, right, in the relationship, and he takes it, it's still going to fall on his head. So why would it make sense? Now, it's not saying that you don't give good advice, but that man should be like, you know what, that advice makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna roll with that,
Mhm.
as opposed to let's just do what you say, and then there's no consequence.
My your comment wasn't posted.
Oh, okay.
I I just read
How
um
do you lower your pride to mature to this level as a woman?
how do I lower my pride?
Oh wow, what a dope question. He's asking you, how do you lower your pride to mature to this level as a woman? Talking about you. I think that's what he's asking you.
Um that was I'm going to say that
That's a dope question, Tyson.
I that's a yeah, that is a dope question. It's a complicated question, more complicated than you would think.
Like, how did you understand to be how did you come to the maturity to be quiet?
You have to show that.
How did you? Oh, sorry.
Okay. To learn how to be quiet. Really, it's just been like in the last um few years, and then it really in the last year and a half. Um, just I had to. I wanted my marriage more than I wanted. Cause you,
Women don't gravitate towards this.
yeah. It
They
and
need to take some
I think
classes with Jenny. I've been trying
I
to tell
think
her to
it's
do her
not.
own podcast.
I think it's not just. I don't mean literally. I can't speak to something that he does because we talk a lot, and he does talk a lot, and um,
And we
but
disagree.
and we disagree often. But what I mean by being quiet is I have to be um I had to just read and understand that this is what that this he is my husband. He is my head. And I need to be okay with letting him not letting him lead, but I need to
Be
under
okay with how I lead.
understand yeah. If I want to be successful and I when we chose each other for partners in life,
You
I
said
saw
I trust him to lead.
I that's what I said. And um just studying feminism and the effects, the devastating
Listen, I don't know if that's gonna get us
effects.
blocked.
I don't care.
For sure.
What is the benefit of doing so as a woman? I don't have to carry the burden of the decisions. I don't want I will
You also get a peaceful marriage.
submit to her. I don't know. It may. I don't want. See, the problem with here's. I'm gonna be real with you. The problem with me personally, the reason why we I have a struggle because I don't want to feel the ill effects of what I perceive to be his bad decisions. And that's why a lot of us don't want it. We don't want to deal with the fallout. So we're gonna do what we can to say what we say our piece and get our way because we think our way is best. But there was one day I think it was just the Holy Spirit told me, oh no, it was a situation. We bought our house, right? Um at, what 8 years ago,
Almost
almost 8 years ago. And one of the things that Elijah wanted to do
or seven, seven, seven.
before
Sorry.
we even bought our house, he wanted our first purchase to be a duplex. Now, I was not in the mood to be a landlord at all. And I couldn't see why he was so gung ho about doing this. And because I was so persistent and not wanting it, I feel like we lost there. He did not want me to be unhappy. So he decided to give me what I want. I'd rather the single family house. We would have we would have been in a better financial situation, way better for toward our goals if I would have just been like, you know what?
Logic instead of emotions.
You're right. It wasn't about emotions. It was just that I felt like that was best in the moment. And I
But it
couldn't
wasn't logical.
regardless. Yes, it
That's what I'm
wasn't
saying. It was based on emotion. It
and I
wasn't
saw
logic.
that loss, Tyson, and I feel the consequences of that loss. And that was my fault. It was my fault. And as a woman, as a human being, you don't want.
Could I have overruled you?
You could have.
And then I would have.
Then you would have. I don't know what would have happened. And probably we probably would have struggled for a little while. But I think
No, you
in
wouldn't have
you know what I
struggled.
mean in our relationship.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think in the end we would have overcame it. But I'm saying I think about that nearly every day.
I think I would have been better. Like if I would have been
That was
sure,
one,
like if I would have, that's one. But if I would have been very, very with the concrete information,
but
possibly
that
would
wasn't
have.
your fault. My
I
fault
got
was
you.
what I was not able to submit in that moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was what opened my eyes to, oh,
Oh wow, he
sometimes
asking some dope questions. You ready?
I just wait, let me finish this.
Okay.
Sometimes you just need to, it's okay. Like, cause honestly, I'm not in, when we get to glory, when we get to heaven,
It's
the
interesting how
person,
you used to tell me I'm loud, but you
I'm
mild
sorry,
about
you're
it.
right. Oh my gosh.
Whatever.
When we get to heaven, the person who's going to be held accountable for our family is Elijah. He's going to have to stand before the Lord and give an account. And I do not like the accountability on my shoulders of that bad decision. And I shouldn't have to have it. And so, hopefully, that made sense. I don't like the fallout from the bad decisions
The
being on me.
situation we're speaking on is not hypothetical. It actually happened.
Yes.
So you saying you need to go with his decision every time? If I'm adamant about it, like a good leader listens to good counsel. You know, you said the situation you're speaking on is a hypothetical. God could have possibly worked out the reality of y'all situation to the best.
And I believe he did. Don't get me wrong. But there's certain
But
situations
yeah,
in the Bible that we know that if it would have went the other way, it would have been the best for the nation of Israel. The you know it, you the, if they would have just submitted themselves and consecrated themselves over and over and over again, God wanted to bless them. And I know we would have, I would have been blessed even more if I submitted in that moment. And do I have to submit to him every time? Here it is, Tyson. Yes. It I will give him my counsel as his wife. And he respects me as a wise woman. But what I'm saying is, yes. And I said, I can tell him I disagree with you. And he says, I understand. And I've got to suck it up and moving on my day. It doesn't feel good every time, ladies. It feels awful sometimes. But he doesn't also like to hear when I disagree with him. It makes his job hard. But that's a balance that we have to strike. Yes. Do you have to submit every time? Yes.
and no, submitting doesn't mean to always agree though. But you should. It's like saying should Elijah always submit to God?
Yes.
Yes, I should always submit to God because He is the head of
There
He's the
was,
head of the
let
husband,
me put in a
and the
note.
husband's the head of the wife.
You said I was going to have the last word.
I did. I
Unless,
was just responding. I mean, but
unless
Tyson
Tyson
has
has
a
another
dope question.
question.
Yeah,
And you can ask
because
as
I
many
gotta go.
questions
I
as you
gotta.
want.
Well, no, you
You're
gotta
not
go.
going to church.
Listen, don't tell people that. Like this
our
is,
our daughter is sick, so
and our son is
and
too.
our son is sick. so
Hmm.
so he's not going, he's gonna do bedpost Baptist tomorrow. But what I will say is this: I know I see a lot. It wasn't on just on your post, but I saw on a couple of podcasts and on YouTube channels they had a discussion of submission, and I see a lot of women saying, "Well, we're supposed to submit to one another." Ladies, I hopefully, do you have your phone? Can you pull up that scripture about submitting to one another? Ladies, that's not what the Bible says.
I'll find it.
When
Go
the
ahead.
Bible talks about submitting one to another, they're talking about brothers and sisters in Christ holding one another accountable for how we're supposed to live. So you should submit to God, but in the same respect, her submitting to you is good, but you can be wrong. God can't. Hey, listen, he can be wrong, but that's not my job.
Right.
My job is to be his helpmeet. So when he is wrong, I need to we need to make make lemonade out of these lemons that his bad decision just landed us in, and it's not going to feel good, but in the end of the day, we're supposed to stay together. Our kids don't care that he made a bad decision as long as we weather it. But if we let our marriage fall apart and we divorce, our children will be devastated. Devastated.
God
Should
already
you
told us.
should you stay together for the kids?
Yes.
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 I'm one of a great couple at our church, um, Anna and Tim. They were doing a parenting class, and the first thing he said is the best thing you can do for your children, Tyson. The best thing you can do for your children is love your wife.
Best thing.
And if we can't be together, our children will probably eventually be all right, but they're going to be scarred and not going to be everything the Lord would have them to be. As they would have been way more blessed if we tried to make this work. And so a part of trying to make it work is him trying to lead and trying to love me, and me submitting to him, and love me, and me submitting to him. And so just like I have to submit to him every time, he has to love me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's hard for fellas.
All right, so it goes something like this. This is Ephesians 5. It's pretty lengthy, but it's down in these are the fruits of the spirit. I believe I may be wrong. I apologize. I'm thinking Galatians. Um, but where it says submit, I'll start at 15. If I need to go back, I will. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is, and do not get drunk with wine, for that is debauchery, but or debauchery, depending on who you talking to. But be filled with the Spirit, addressing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody to the Lord with your heart, giving thanks always and for everything to God the Father in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ.
So in the context of that scripture, he is speaking how we should deal with one another,
holding each other
accountable in the body of Christ. So Tyson, you see Elijah, you're supposed to, hold him accountable, speak to him with songs and spiritual songs. You don't do that enough, Tyson. I don't hear a whole lot of spiritual songs coming our way. I think you need to step up on that. But what I'm saying is that if you see Elijah, say, Elijah, you're tripping.
Or he has before.
And then he said, and
it's just that he was wrong.
Okay.
I was right.
And then you say to Eli, and he says to you, Tyson, you're tripping.
Right.
That's what we're supposed. That's the submitting to one another.
And so then,
and as a wife, I can do that to Elijah.
Right.
I can hold him accountable according to Scripture. That it may be in that term, but as our relationship with husband and wife, as far as decision making, that is that is all pretty set in standard. He said, here's the section that says wives and husbands.
Verse 22, 5.
Immediately after submitting.
21 says, submitting to one another out of reference of Christ. 22 says, wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior. Say, Tyson, I was talking to somebody and I said, well, that means that the man is the leader. And there's like, well, it says head of the wife. So does that really mean leader? I would need to see that in the Greek.
Unless you are this person's literal head in some science experiment nonsense.
But whatever.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. So now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit in everything to their husbands.
Now here's another submitting to one another that I will make room for. The submitting one another, that his body belongs to me and my body belongs to him. And the only time we're not supposed to be together intimately is if we separate for prayer and fasting and then come together, because if we're not doing it, then we might sin. That is what the scripture literally says to submit to one another. They get all in their feelings. Oh, my body does not belong to him. Yes, it does. But his body belongs to me.
Right.
That's the only other time where we
That's
submit to each other.
that's
I
why
hold
the
him.
Bible is so dope.
I hold him accountable as my brother in Christ. He holds me accountable as his sister in Christ. But also, there's another higher, elevated layer that he holds me accountable as his wife.
This is what it says
And
about
I
husbands.
hold him accountable maybe as his helpmeet to help him.
Right.
But other than that, it's not. I'm not submitting to him.
Man, she didn't want to do this, Tyson, but you see, she's talking a lot.
I know, but
Guys,
I'm passionate about this.
Husbands, love your wife. Well, there's other episodes that can be done.
Okay.
You got to break this down into like 20 minute
Indeed.
Okay. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. So I need to be working on that. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh, which is a struggle to do, but that means that you both have to give of yourselves. This mystery is profound.
It is.
And I just said that.
That
And I
first
am
6 months,
saying,
we did not do
and
that.
I am saying that it refers to Christ and the church. However, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband.
There's a great book
And you
called
cannot, women, you cannot disrespect your husband and think that you're providing peace.
How do you do that exactly?
Do what?
Um,
How do you
what do
do
you
you need
need
to
to
do?
be doing
on?
exactly?
Oh, I need to be loving my wife like I love myself. That's the one thing that I, in my mind, I don't think that I do well. But she can speak. You know what I'm saying? Uh, like one of the things that I have not done in a while is to give her a break. You know, I used to uh, state, Jen, go do something. I don't do that as much as I used to. Go ahead.
I don't agree with that. I think we're in a season where you need to be actually hitting it hard, and so I don't care about breaks right now. We have time for
Hitting
that.
what hard?
Like hitting your work hard.
Okay.
Like you have things to do.
Yeah.
So I understand that, and so I'm not trying to. I'm not looking for breaks. I will take my breaks.
For sure.
That's the loving your wife as your own body. Well, I mean, I think sometimes I think we overcomplicate things. Okay, Tyson.
How do you
love yourself? I see your pictures. You're loving yourself pretty, right, Tyson?
Listen, I think selfies was invented because of you, bro. You know what I'm saying? But whatever.
Okay. So, whatever you would think to do for yourself, I want to feel good about this. I want to do this. I feel like going this way. I feel like whatever you feel like for yourself, that's what you're supposed to do for your wife. Mm-hmm. That's not really complicated. If she doesn't like what you like, then you got to find out what she likes.
It also tells you to deal with her accordingly. You know what I'm saying? So, in the sense of you got to know who she is, you got to talk to her. I mean, you talk to yourself, I'm sure. Okay, if you taking selfies, you definitely talking to yourself.
No, he does not take selfies. He has somebody else taking the pictures.
Oh, my bad. You have another person taking a lot of pictures of you. I got you. Hey man, it's been real, dude. I don't side note, I'm trying to get together single people. I know you're about to be married, but I think it'd be a good conversation for single people to be in the room with married people and dialogue about what marriage looks like and what dating looks like. Let me know if you would like to be a part. It's probably going to be at my house or at my church. So
indeed, I don't
because I want this to work. You know what I'm saying? I want marriages to work.
And I'm not trying to speak overly harsh about women because I just have
Listen,
this
don't don't
great.
don't don't
Just
try to caveat your heart. Man,
no,
listen.
I'm just trying to say my heart
Listen,
right now.
Dion.
Can I say? I feel like women have been sold a bill of goods. In the last 40 years, women have been told, and I know this is a little bit off topic, Tyson. We say this all the time. We homeschool our children, okay? And I spoke to a girl about a woman about a mother, and the woman
She's
broke.
single.
She's single. She broke down and was very distraught and felt selfish for wanting to mother her child. This is where we are, ladies. You feel guilty for
Listen, you need to
wanting
put that
to
in your
be
book.
a mother to your child. This should not no longer can be tolerated. We need to call this out for the evil it is.
Why's that? Why are you
It's
talking about that here?
the feminine. I'm sorry. I'm passionate about this. It's because feminism has taught us to go against our own
I
natures.
got it.
It is wrong to want to be a wife, a feminine wife.
Huh?
It is wrong. That's what it's taught us.
Okay.
It is
Okay.
wrong to want and there's a war going on in a woman's mind. And this is why you see these ladies going on Kevin Samuels and saying, I want I want to be taken care of, but I don't want to submit. Do you see how double-minded that is? And this is the work of feminism, exactly.
Or I want a traditional man, but he has to accept my modern
And
ways.
again, the Bible still spoke to this, didn't it?
Did in
I forget,
Genesis.
and not just in Genesis, but it's somewhere else. It said that in that day, a woman would like many women will try to come after one man and say, we will get our own food, we will get our own money, but please just give us your protection and
It's
don't
in the
reproach
Bible.
our name. Yes, it's in the Bible. There's nothing new under the
You got to
sun.
find that and then talk about that later. I mean, we were supposed to be here on an hour, and here you go talking about that.
My bad.
First of all, you told me to literally make a list so that we would not go on a tangent.
Hey, we did good on
And
the Kwame thing.
listen,
We did good.
I feel like I'm going shopping.
You're the one who
Like
shop.
here we go with the list.
You're the one who
I'm talking
shop.
about when you go grocery shopping.
Oh,
List.
whatever.
You go with if you don't go
We
with a list
need all this seasoning.
or whatever. If it's a list or not a list, you're getting more than what you were supposed to get.
Listen, you enjoy
Well, we appreciate it. Not when it comes to the bank account. All right. So appreciate y'all for tuning in. This is Glenn's. This is how we see it. We out here. Deuces. Like, share, subscribe, comment on the channel. We out.